Hey guys, I kind of need your help. We're gonna be having plans this weekend, and oh my god, losers! What are you guys talking about? Don't touch me! Oh, hey, Regina, Regina, come here. Okay. Yeah, we were actually talking about me and my mom were actually having plans this weekend. We were gonna be watching a movie, and I really don't know what movie to choose for. There's plenty of good movies on the cinema at the moment. A movie for cinema? That's it? Easy. Really? Okay, so you can help me. What do you suggest we watch? You know what I would choose? Midnight Sun. Okay. That's a really good. That's a really good title. Why should we watch it? You're asking me why? Oh my god, girl. You're so pathetic. Patrick. Patrick is so hot. Oh my god. I was sweating like a roasted pig inside the cinema. And you know, the cinema has a blasting air conditioner, but I was sweating. I was sweating really hard. It was like the entire cinema was flooded with my sweat because of Patrick's hotness. Chili pepper 10. He was like a chili pepper 10. Okay, okay. Yeah, that could be a good point. I guess the actress could be the reason why we could watch it. I mean, yeah, my mother isn't really into young dudes, but I guess okay. Maria, what do you suggest we watch? Do you agree with Regina? Should we watch Midnight Sun? I would have to disagree with Regina's motion. I believe that physicality in actors or actresses should come in last in terms of reasons to watch it. Oh, well, what do you suggest we watch then? I would suggest you watch John Wick 3. It's a refresher course, a deliberating one. In the nature of escapist entertainment, the fight scenes are gracefully performed, not to mention the plot was a breath of fresh air. It's appealing, but occasionally boring at times. Keanu Reeves is just a versatile actor. His ability to blend in on the emotions of his character is superb and should be the utter display of perfection. Okay, um, hey, Sty, what were you suggesting earlier again? But I didn't say anything. Yeah, we'll watch that. We'll watch that. Hello everybody and welcome back to a new video. So as you can see, I have a new microphone here. I mean, it's not new, just the stand is new. So now it won't be very difficult for me to actually approach the microphone because last time my voice was inaudible. So today, I don't know, I'm not really quite sure what the result will be, but hopefully it will be a bit better than last time. So before I start this video, I'm gonna start out with a huge shout out to my faculty members. Yeah, to my faculty members, special mention, Ma'am Kathy, Sir Lester, Sir Stephen, Sir Fernand. Sir Fernand is also a YouTuber like me, so please subscribe to his channel. It's called Was Up Chronicles. It's called Was Up Chronicles, so please subscribe to him. He posts really interesting content. And that's all for this introduction, so let's begin our topic. Okay, so for this evening, we are going to be discussing a different subject. So I realized that oral communication is actually quite easy compared to this other subject. So why am I going through a lot of trouble with explaining oral communication where in fact, there's a lot more difficult subjects out there like this. So in this video, in this evening, I'm going to be discussing this subject with this subject entitled English for Academic. What is that again? English for academic and professional purposes. Now, this is a bit difficult to, especially for those who are still starting out in grade 11. This is a difficult subject because it deals with a lot more, it's a lot more strict. This has a lot more formality compared to other forms of writing, but I'll get to that. So in that situation earlier, which one would you actually choose to listen to? This one or this one? Which is more believable? Of course, you would choose the other one because someone who sounds a lot smarter, a lot comprehensive would be a lot more believable than someone who is a bit on the plain side. But we can all agree, right? But we can all agree that Keanu Reeves is chili hot peppers. But anyways, just moving on from that subject. So in that example earlier, of course you would choose someone who is a lot more comprehensive, someone who actually explains his or her point of view more reasonably, rather than someone who actually explains something with such a very shallow reasoning. In this subject, we are going to be talking about academic texts. Now, what is an academic text and how is it different from other sorts of text? Okay, so when we say academic text, it is defined as critical, objective, specialized texts written by experts or professionals in a given field using formal language. Now, in that situation earlier, the second person, Maria, was a lot more formal than Regina, because Regina's ideas were more opinionated rather than what is this again? Maria's ideas, which were a lot more critical than Regina's idea. Now, when we say academic text, it is a lot more formal than most texts. Now, when it comes to creating poems, that is not an example for an academic text. That is an example of a creative writing, because when we say academic texts, these examples are what we call book reviews, thesis, concept papers, research papers, academic journals, reports, textbooks, and a lot more. If it is a formal way of writing, and that is an example of an academic text. Okay, so how else do we distinguish an academic text with the other writings? Now, when we say academic text, it actually has a lot of features. So its features make it different from other writings. Now, these features include complexity, formality, preciseness, objectivity, explicitness, accuracy, hedging, and responsibility. Now, judging from those features it has, obviously, academic text isn't something that's easy to make. It's actually one of the most hardest things to write, because it's not just something you write based on your imagination. It's something that has to be based on with solid facts or solid basis of facts. It's not something that you can just create or you can just write based on your past knowledge on something, because you have to make sure that that's real. You have to make sure that the information that you are going to be writing is real or is genuine. Now, actually, one of the most easiest ways to identify that that a text is academic is that if it sounds really, really plain and boring, that's an academic text. Because the purpose of an academic text is not to entertain, but to inform. Okay, so it doesn't contain any jargons or slangs that we use, like Becky languages. It uses formal language. If it doesn't use formal language, if it contains slang words, then that is not an example of an academic writing, because academic writings are not supposed to be informal or funny. They're supposed to be informative. Now, if you've noticed, there are times when we are trying to speak our mind, sometimes the words don't come out right, or sometimes we notice that we actually write much better than when we are actually speaking. It's because speaking is spontaneous. It happens unconsciously, and so sometimes we can commit grammatical errors, grammatical errors, and that is the reason as to why we're actually afraid to speak out our ideas, because we don't want to get laughed at. We don't want our classmates laughing at us because we actually have broken English and stuff like that. But the truth is, it's actually quite normal to be experiencing these stuff. Making grammatical errors is very, very normal when it comes to speaking. So don't be afraid to speak out your ideas, just as long as you can express the idea that you have in your head. That's okay. It's normal to commit grammatical error. But when it comes to writing, this is a lot more sophisticated than speaking, because when you are writing, you can actually correct your errors. Now, what are the things you should actually avoid when it comes to writing academic text? Now, first of all, academic texts don't actually use colloquial words and expressions like stuff, a lot, thing. They don't use those words. You can actually use instead of using those words, you can use materials. What else do we have to use? Materials, objects, those, and not stuff, a lot, thing. Yeah, because those are actually considered informal words. And then the second thing is you can't actually use contractions in academic text. Now, when we say contractions, these are actually words that are supposedly long, but they are made to be shortened. Now, for example, instead of using can't, like CAN, then quotation T, you should actually use cannot. Do not use shouldn't, but use should not. Don't use couldn't, but use could not. So we do not use contractions when it comes to academic text. Okay, now when it comes to formal writing as well, we have what we call precision. Now, basically, when we say precision, it means it actually has the base word precise. Now, in academic writing, you need to be precise when you use information, dates, or figures. So instead of using a lot of people, you can actually say 50 million people, 40 million people. You can actually put in a figure. Okay, don't be too general. Okay, after being precise, after having precision, we also need to be accurate. We need to have accuracy. Now, basically, when we say accuracy, it actually means we have to use the words accordingly. We cannot just predict like, oh, this word actually means like this, so I'm gonna put it here. You have to make sure that the word actually means that way. So, for example, do not confuse phonetics and phonology or grammar with syntax, like other examples like salvage with savage, because those are two completely different words. Do not ever misuse the words. If you're not sure with the meaning, search for the meaning in the dictionary. Don't misuse words. Please, just don't. I want to salvage all of the people who hated me and who bullied me because they are very mean, and I wish for them to go to hell. Now, the next thing we have is what we call objectivity. Now, when we say objectivity, it's actually, if you're familiar with the word subjectivity and objectivity, then you probably know what objectivity means in this context. So when you say that the answer should be subjective, it means that the answer could be opinionated. Basically, it means that the answer is coming from you. It's what you think. But when we say objectivity, it's not about what you think. You have to base your answer on solid facts. It's not going to be about you. It's not always about you, okay? It's not going to be about you this time. So when we say objectivity, if you are going to be, if you were used to having the opinions all to yourself, you're like saying, oh, I think this is the best movie because I think because the actors are so great, because Anna Kendrick is my favorite actress. I think Taylor Swift is the best singer because her songs are just perfect and I love her as an artist. No. No one cares about that here. In academic texts, if you want to prove your point, you need to base it on solid facts. You need to find references, sources that would actually prove that, oh, that your point is actually correct, or your claim is actually correct, or the argument that you're making is actually correct. Okay, so that is all for this video. I'm sorry this wasn't as entertaining as it should be, but because this topic is a bit more serious and is a bit complicated to put a lot of entertainment into it, I'm also not feeling it as well because I'm kind of like not in the mood to do that. But anyways, I really hope you've learned something, and if you didn't, well, damn me. But if you really have questions, you can just comment them below. You can send me a private message, actually, if you have questions. And if you understood, then that's good. That's pretty good. Okay, that's enough for me. That's it for this video. Adios.